And we're live. Hey!
What's up?
Hey.
Oh, wow. Welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Hey.
It's
You know
another
what time
week.
it is?
It's
Monday.
technical. No, it's technical issue time.
Welcome to another episode of Hopped Up the Podcast, where we dissect our issues with streaming once again.
Yeah, it's another episode of Jonathan has a minor panic attack for 45 minutes, making sure the stream is set up correctly.
You know, it's so funny. We try to this week particularly because we have our special guest on. We wanted to make sure we got a pre-show plan. We're trying to work out the kinks, but it seems like the more time we try to plan into this, the more problems show up. Exponential problems.
Yes. And I've got to change my output. I got to make sure my audio. Give me a second.
So while Jono's still messing with settings, ladies and gentlemen, this is our special guest, Nick. Nick is a good friend of mine, but we're going to get into a more detailed introduction of Nick, and Nick can introduce himself.
What's up?
What's going on?
What's up?
Oh, Jono, your audio is cut out. Oh, he said he knows. One moment.
Oh no.
Oh,
I can hear you though. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you all right, but it says the sound is gone. Okay, hang on.
I'll give it a moment.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Yes. Can you hear
All
us?
right. I bumped my
Okay.
mute button. I literally bumped the mute
Okay, we're
button.
So
So my mic- I got this
freaking
little-
out.
I've got this little capacitive mute button, and I'm like, I look down and like you don't. It's not even a button. You just tap the top, and it. Anyway.
Oh man.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, way to go. I mean, you got me
All right.
shook. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, I know.
I was pretty scared.
Well, like my audio
I
was there,
pretty
then yours
worried.
was gone, and then anyway. So
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
E-House is
so-
in here, Stu's in
To the show,
here,
indeed.
Herman's in here, everybody's
man.
here. All right.
So back to what I was saying. It's not an episode if we're not talking about what we're drinking. Let's start with our guest. Nick, what are you drinking today, sir?
I'm actually drinking an Ichi by. I'm not sure what this is by actually. I think it's by Suntory. I'm not entirely sure. It's a pretty decent beer.
You don't have to
I-
drive or fly later. Like, I don't know why you're not drinking something with a little bit more than but okay.
More than
You know?
Yes.
You got to keep
I prefer.
up with the boyish figure. I
sober.
get it. Jono, what about you? What are you gracing us with today? Oh man.
New
Oh,
flavor.
the tropical
Good choice.
flavor.
New
Good
flavor.
choice.
Got the pineapple flavored strong zero.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
Solid
I've
choice.
also got another one coming
Yeah.
later. One that I was actually looking
Okay.
for our first episode, and I found it.
Oh.
Because they changed the
okay.
packaging. That's what threw me off.
Oh, all right. So I am drinking the much hyped since the street food episode, a Guaylo IPA. So they do have a beer, legit called Guaylo. For those who didn't tune in or didn't listen to last week, Guaylo literally means foreigner or
Yeah.
white guy. So this is the white guy IPA. I think it's very fitting.
Mint,
So
Herman has mint tea and dry figs.
oh, that is very nice.
Wow.
Highbrow,
is it?
Herman.
How is it, man?
It's hoppy, a little bit light. It's not too much of an in your face IPA. I like it. It's an IPA that you can drink during the summertime that doesn't make you feel all like, hoppy in the mouth. So
Like you're
I
getting
like it.
punched in the face with a pine cone?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, mine's pineapple-ish. Mine's like heavy leaded pineapple juice.
Does it have like any kind of pina colada flavor to it?
No, it's just pure pineapple.
it's
It's,
just-
clear. And if you don't, hard to probably, yeah, you can probably see on camera. It's clear. So that's the thing about these. They're
Yeah.
they don't put any dyes, any food coloring, anything like that in this stuff. And they do a good job with the flavor. So,
Cool. So let's
oh, Stu's
since
drinking
we
the
got some
Kavalan.
people. Oh yes, Kavalan is a good choice. Oh man, Lao Wai. Yes, Lao Wai in Taiwan. Yes, that would be the one.
Yep.
So before we get into our first topic, I think let's give our guest Nick an opportunity to introduce himself. So this is my good friend Nick. Nick, why don't you tell us about yourself and tell us, more importantly, your day job.
Hey guys, I'm Nick. Nice to meet you all. Well, my full-time job, I'm actually an airline pilot. I know I don't look like one, but I'm actually an airline pilot for a Hong Kong-based company. In my spare time, I coach Mark in American football, which is why we're pretty close friends because he's the captain of the team, Hong Kong Cobras. Yep.
Go figure. I mean, what is more difficult to convince someone that Nick is a pilot or Nick is my coach? I mean, you guys choose that one.
Yeah, both. I don't know.
Yes, A or B. Yes.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
Nick, thanks so much for being on the show. Awesome to have you, our second guest, and you're going to bring a very different perspective here because we're, for those of you who are looking at the show notes, or there's questions here kind of below. Well, they're actually to the side of me. They're that way. He's going to kind of give his perspective through a pilot's eyes of travel tips, things like that, places to go, and underrated, overrated spots, food tips, all that kind of good stuff. So we're definitely gonna.
Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Thanks for having me
Excited.
here.
Yeah, man, it's
Thanks for
awesome.
having me
Yeah.
here.
So let's start with the first one, travel tips. I mean, we've all traveled, but I don't think any one of us has traveled quite like you, Nick. I mean, as a pilot, what are some things that maybe people don't think about, when we travel from your perspective as a pilot, that you look at your people, oh man, if only you people knew that don't do this, do this.
I think it's just first thing is always packing well. I mean, everyone has like a travel bag, but they don't pay enough thought into it. So the one thing that I always bring are noise canceling headsets or earphones.
Big
That's
tip.
the number one thing. That's the number one thing. Like I can forget everything, but if I don't have my AirPods or some kind of noise canceling earplugs in, it's not gonna help me through the night. Like 13 hours next to a snoring guy. Like that's like the number one thing. And then obviously some eye masks. If you have some issues like circulation issues, like I used to do, then pressure socks are always a good pick up just to wear them in flight. So I'd say, yeah, first thing is always pack up correctly. Right?
But wait, so you're
Second
recommending
thing I'd
like
say is,
socks, like the actual compression socks to put on that I see? I see some people use those. Like, where would you get those? Like,
Yeah.
what store would you pick them up at?
like some airports have them.
Hmm.
Some airports do have them. I got mine from Sportswear. So it was a sportswear shop where it was those recovery socks, those compression recovery socks. I found that those work pretty well as well.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then second thing that people don't think about is downloading an offline map. So what I used to do when I was traveling, when I was in, I spent 4 years in London. So what I used to do when I was traveling around Europe was that every place I'd go, I'd download an offline map off Google Maps, just so if everything goes wrong and you don't have internet, sometimes you don't, and your personal Wi-Fi might not be working, at least you know where you are. You know where the hotel is.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I'd say
actually, that
that's-
saved me one time. Actually, I learned that lesson myself the hard way, and ever since, no matter where I'm at, I always do an offline map. And if you guys don't know, guys, you can do it like sit in Google, and you can actually draw boxes around the area you're going to be, and it will actually download those areas for you. I don't know about Apple though, but I know Google does it. I'm sure Apple Maps probably has something similar.
Yeah. Usually
I don't
when
know.
I'm in a different country, it kind of automatically kind of downloads. It's kind of on the device, so it's pretty quick.
Yeah,
But-
but it's absolutely crucial. It's safe.
To your point, if you don't have the chip, I don't mean to step on you there. We got a little bit of a delay, by the way. If if you don't have like a SIM card, there's a SIM card issue. That's where you need the offline map ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
Yeah. So, another part of these tips, right? So it's interesting to be able to pack right. Let's say you got to the airport a little early, right? You got your 2 hours ahead of your flight. You're good.
Yeah.
One of the what is a tip for someone that, let's say you didn't do that, you're late, right? You're in a rush.
Okay.
What
Okay.
word of advice or tips you got for this particular person?
If you were late, oh, that's a good question. Actually,
I mean, I'm sure you're never late for work.
I could never show up. I showed up late once, and that wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't ideal. Wasn't ideal. No, I think it'd be know where the plane is, because so many times you'd see guys running off like a headless chicken, as you would because you're late, right? and not knowing where to go. So they go to the wrong side of the airport. In Hong Kong Airport, you've got north and south immigrations. You see them go off to the wrong wing, and then they have to go all the way back to the southern side because their gate's on the other side of the airport. So
That is
I'd
painful.
say, yeah, I'd say if you were on the bus and you were already late and you knew that you were already late, look ahead of time, check where the gate is, kind of figure out north or south, which side should you go, just to save you from that massive U-turn that you take after immigration. Only
Good
applies for
one.
Hong Kong Airport though.
All
Only
right.
applies
All
for Hong
right.
Kong Airport.
All right. So here. How about some in-flight tips? Give us some do's and don'ts.
In-flight tips. Okay, dress well, especially for your shoes. Dress well.
Hmm.
That's number one
Interesting.
thing. Always dress well. Yeah, like you see guys show up in like a suit and a tie and everything, and then 2 hours later they're all sticky and icky and disgusting. So that's the number one thing. Again, pack well. Wet wipes. I've always found wet wipes to be useful after a layover, simply because after 6-7 hours you just feel a bit, disgusting. People sweat and oils everywhere. Eye mask I've discussed. Earplugs I've discussed. Lotion, a moisturizer lotion, and lipstick. So I think that's something that people don't. Yeah, lipstick. I think that's something that people don't really pay enough attention to, simply because it's just so much drier up there. And one flight might be okay, but you've got those, Hong Kong, Dubai, Europe trips. It's rough on your skin. It's rough, and you feel your lips get chapped. So I do think that those two are probably some of the more important do's that you have to get done before.
That explains a lot. That's why your lips are always so succulent every time you come to practice. Even though you may all be all shriveled up like a fig, your lips are always juicy.
Yeah. Thank you. I do try. And one more thing is, I know this is more common sense nowadays, but try to check in ahead of time and get an aisle seat if you're not crazy about the views, because being on the aisle seat just to stretch your legs a bit more. I'm 5'7", so I'm not that tall, but even then, I find the aisle seat very useful just to stretch your legs and just walk out for a bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Always fighting for the aisle seats. That's the first thing I book. I also, if I do my long hauls, before all this mess, I was flying a lot in the back of the plane, back and forth to the States, to Taipei here. I mean, a lot. And I would find on the 777s, they're usually configured 3-4-3. So in the back in economy, if you're going to pay for like a somewhat affordable seat, you have three seats. In the middle, you have 4. I found that the aisle seat on the 4 is the best place to be because you only have one person that's going to ask you to move during the flight. Versus over here, if you get the aisle, you have 2 people that are potentially going to go, hey, can I use the restroom? Hey, reaching across you. You'll have a better flight. And then also I found if I move toward the front of the cabin, as long as the lavatories aren't there, less people passing you. I found. Those are my 2 little, from the back, in the cheap seats tips on my side.
Yeah. Something I also found out too, like Nick, correct me if I'm wrong for this. Like, so I used to fly a lot for work, and what I found out was once you are able to kind of get like a mileage program, right, and definitely get it, especially if you fly any kind of half decent. And what I've always found very successful was, instead of waiting to the last minute to check in, I always check in as early as possible. So if there's any kind of upgrade that they'll bump you up on, they always end up bumping me because like I'm already there, because they're trying to bump me out of the way so whoever's late gets to get on the plane, right? Contrary to popular belief, is you check in at the very end and they'll move you to the front. No, it doesn't work like that, So is that true? Is that something that they kind of do?
I don't know enough about ticketing to give you an answer because I've never worked in the ticketing or the ground staff. But being on the loyalty program definitely helps, because if they see that you're already a tiered member, it's much easier to justify an upgrade to you as opposed to some nobody who's never been on the flight before. So that's probably one thing that really helps you.
Right.
I'd agree with that
And a
one.
lot of these loyalty programs actually not even that expensive. Some of them it says like they don't even charge you to join.
I don't think any of them charge you to join, like their basic.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I remember Marco Polo had one that there's like every year you had to renew it for like about like 1,000 Hong Kong dollars, but then they would waive it every year. It's like, out of the generosity of our heart, we're gonna waive your membership fee. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that some of the Asian carriers, specifically do have some sort of like paid tier, or I don't know if they do it anymore, like a paid tier upgrade. Like you could put some sort of money in and have like a different level program. But I think most of the Western carriers, at least looking specifically at the United States, from what I'm experienced with, like the big three, there's really no way to pay your way to the next unless you just, you get one of those where you could buy the points essentially to move it to the next level, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like for Marco Polo, like the green membership, like the basic one, you have to like apparently that is the one that Ho Ching Yong is right. It still charges, but then like the more you fly or if you spend and you just earn those Marco Polo points, they'll just bump you up to silver, gold, diamond or whatever excuse me, the latest top rank one is.
Yeah, Diamond Plus, I think it is nowadays.
Yeah, something like that.
And sometimes if you're doing those,
it doesn't
from somebody
matter, Nick.
who
You
did
fly in the
plans.
front.
Yeah, he flies in the front. Yeah. But you do those. Also, look at other carriers. Like from my experience, I went all in with United because they have some pretty good routes here to Taipei. So I was looking at that, but I was also looking at the other airlines in the group they're a part of. There's different groups, right? Like the airlines kind of get together and they have different groups. And sometimes you may want to make the decision, like you join one carrier that's local to you. Like for example, EVA is in the same group as United, EVA Air here. And then China Airlines here is in the same group as, I think, Delta. I think they're with the Delta.
Yeah, I think they're out there.
You can look at those, join those, and if you hit a certain level, you get like a peer level on that side. Now, it does cap out. You can't go to the max. Even if you're maxed here, it won't move you to the max. But if you go up, usually it's about like the second level or the third level, which is pretty high. It gives you a lot of benefits. You can work your way up on a local carrier, and then you're going to transfer, that tier over to other airlines. And that's kind of a tip when you're looking around and flying.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, that does make sense. What is the one that you're working for right now, Nick? What group are you guys?
Well, there are two main ones. There's the One World Alliance, and then there's the Star Alliance. So the one I'm working with is the One World Alliance. So I think we're with I think it's JAL. I think it's JAL. That's the one that I used to travel on the most.
I think it's JAL. There'd be
ANA
Delta in the
Star.
States, I think, on that one.
Yeah, and American Airlines. Is also
Okay, it's
with
American.
that.
It's not Delta.
American
Delta's a different
Airlines,
one.
yeah. The Delta's with Star, I think. So there's two main ones, the One World and the Star. So that's a very good tip. Because with, let's say, Marco Polo, which is what Cathay is, if you're on that, and then that automatically transfers your points into, I think, ANA or whatever, or JL or whatever. I think it's JL. So you can use your Marco Polo membership, buy a ticket with JL, and then your points still transfer. Because with some of the routes, especially the Tokyo routes, and back then we had some Taipei routes that we'd share with other airlines. So we used to fly Auckland as well for, I think it was Air New Zealand. So their points would transfer to our airline and vice versa.
Yeah. There's One
yeah,
World,
you
Sky Team, and Star Alliance. Those are the three.
There you go.
I just did a quick Google.
Hey, thank you, Google.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, I remember that. Nick, you used to tell us that you used to fly Hong Kong, Auckland a lot. Like, and then you'd power through it too. You'd be like Hong Kong, Auckland on like Monday through Wednesday, and then you'll be there. Like you'll be back on like a Saturday morning, and Sunday you'll be at practice. I don't know how you do it. It's just
There was that Melbourne flight where I landed at 1 in the afternoon and I showed up to practice.
yes.
At 3, and everyone was just looking at me because I had pilot boots on.
All right.
Yeah.
So I've got a big question for you. This one's been bugging me because from someone who doesn't, I travel enough for this to be a huge annoyance for me, but not enough to ever figure out how to get it fixed. Jet lag tips, especially when you're moving a considerable number of time zones. Do you have any kind of tips on that one?
Oh man, that's always a rough one. I mean, it depends where you're going. Europe, it's much easier. Every time you fly west, it's easier because you take a night flight. So let's say Amsterdam, I'd fly at let's say 11:30 at night, sleep at about 12:30. Wake, I'm talking about Hong Kong time. Wake up at about 7 Hong Kong time. Power through the day. I land in Amsterdam and it's still morning. So flying west to Europe is not too bad as long as you get a night flight. US, you're kind of screwed. West Coast especially. East Coast, you're a bit better.
Yeah, I found that because whenever I land in West Coast, I do like anywhere from here in Asia over to like California, you name it. Just Las Vegas. It's savage, man. When I go east, I agree with you on the tip. Like whenever I fly to Germany, like Mark and I, we both for work for our day jobs would travel to Germany at least once a year for to do a big show, and I found it was kind of easy. I see your point. Like it is easier to adjust. I always found that way, but yeah, I was hoping you'd have like, take these vitamins or some kind of special tip.
Power through, suck it up, buttercup,
There is actually some. I know some airline pilots who would use melatonin. Melatonin. Yeah, so they use melatonin supplements when I think it's like there's a time limit. So you take it, let's say 30 minutes before you sleep, and you're supposed to sleep a lot longer and a lot better. That kind of thing, and it usually helps. But East Coast, it could probably help because a 12-hour difference, you can probably kind of have a midday nap and power through the night. But West Coast, because it's 15 hours to LA, sometimes 16 hours in LA, Seattle. Those are the really rough ones where even melatonin won't do a big difference. Unless if you take an afternoon flight, it might work a bit better because you would land in the afternoon. You just kind of power through, sleep early. Maybe an afternoon flight would help for those West Coast flights. You can give that a try.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I can give you one tip from the back of the plane. One more about this.
Go for it.
Don't drink any of this on your flight. That will you're already getting dehydrated on the plane. Nick was talking about lip balm and lotion, all the dehydration. Yeah. You start adding that into the equation, and you're going to be miserable. I think that adds to that uncomfortable feeling when you get to the final destination.
Yeah, so true. And so great segue, Jono. Bringing up the drinks. Oh my God, it's as if we planned this out.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness. So we're gonna move on to the next thing. Now, food spots.
Oh.
Let's start. Let's start nice and close, right? Let's start from the airport, right? Nick, what have you found that are some of the best food spots? Let's say in an airport. Like which airport you think has the best food spot, and then we'll move out from there.
In an airport, I actually think Hong Kong used to have a good range before they kind of shut down Terminal 2 for renovations and all the restaurants kind of moved out. Singapore, I've only heard good things about. Singapore. Mm-hmm. And definitely Osaka. Osaka and Nagoya. Those two are the main ones where you can never go wrong. Like, you could just kind of go to the food list, pick anyone, and you'll hit a good spot.
That is so true. KIX does have an insane food selection. You have to go back to the domestic hall though. So if any of you guys are flying and you go to international, you're like, I don't know, man, Jono and this Nick character and Mark just lying to me. No. Domestic. Go to the domestic side, right? You'll find the Pokemon shop and then the secret little corridor where they got all this food. That's where you got to go.
The ramen corridor on the left.
It's great.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The ramen corridor. So this is the ultimate tip. If you like KX, which is Kenzai Regional, which is Osaka area, then that's it. The ramen corridor by the Pokemon shop. There you go. You heard it first from these two guys.
That is the place to be. I swear to God, you will not get disappointed. Their okonomiyaki is fantastic. They have a little kind of cantina area. They got all the ramen, and they have like a rotating sushi thing. Definitely worth going. 100% worth going. So, okay, we got airports out of the way. So let's say where would be a top destination that you would suggest people to go? Okay, food place, bam, this is it. Let's start with Asia.
Okay.
Since you've been all around the world.
Asia, I don't actually have many because ultimately I think Busan, Tokyo, Osaka, you probably can't go wrong anywhere in Korea or Japan. Simply by, how the regional delicacies, right? Korea and Japan, you probably can't go wrong. Taipei, I know, has a very good night market, as Jono would know.
Yeah.
Jonathan would know. Like, the night markets are definitely great. So Taipei's probably in my top 3 as well. I'd say Busan, Taipei, Osaka. That's my top 3 within Asia. Europe, though. Oh, man. Europe, I've got quite a few. I think Brussels is one of those ones where you have to go for food. Because the big three in Brussels, you've got waffles, which are always astonishingly good. You've got beer. You've got different types of, IPAs like pale ales, and then you've got the entire range. You can never go wrong with the beer in Brussels. And mussels. Brussels is actually really well known for mussels.
Mussels, like the shellfish.
Like
Yeah.
the shellfish. The
Really?
seafood.
I was about to make, was about to make a Jean Claude Van
So
Damme
was I.
joke
I was going
there,
to totally
but I was
slide in the
like,
Jean-Claude Van Damme
oh.
joke there. We just dated
Nick, you're
ourselves.
probably too young
yes.
for that. You're too young for that. Okay.
I'm
You're
too young for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too young
I'm too young
for
for that. Yep. And then my second one would probably be Madrid. I think simply because to get traditional Spanish food, Madrid is the way to go to. Barcelona, I've heard good things about, but I haven't been personally. So Madrid, just street food, ham. They've got the cheese omelette, which is always great. That's probably another one to go to. And then in Amsterdam, I think that's my third choice because they have a surprisingly wide variety of foods. You don't expect it out of Amsterdam and Netherlands, but they have a food hall called Food Holland. It literally means food hall in Dutch. And they've got 20, 30 bars, gin and tonic bars, whiskey bars, and they've got Asian food, European food that you just didn't expect.
And is that in the
Okay.
airport?
That was
That
pretty
one
good.
there?
It's about 20 minutes right away. It's like
Okay.
a short bus ride away.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like, when you fly to Amsterdam, do they piss test all the pilots?
They don't actually. They don't. Out of Hong Kong
What?
They do. Yeah, out of Hong Kong they do. But
Well, surprisingly
Amsterdam,
now, they're going to test him.
Oh no! Sorry,
Tomorrow
Nick.
morning when he shows up to work, surprise.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've switched to a Pilsner.
Mm.
Quick tasting note.
Oh, wow.
Light. Typical Pilsner.
Okay.
Sorry, back to you, Nick.
Back to
So Amsterdam,
Yeah,
they don't
and
piss
then-
test you. Surprise, surprise.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. Out of Hong Kong they do, but out of Amsterdam they don't. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. You would think it'd be a logical thing to do, but
I have some jokes in there, but I think it's a little too spicy for
Yeah.
YouTube. So we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do it. Let's save it for the after show. Anyways, back to you.
Okay. Yeah, my fourth spot, Dublin in Ireland.
Okay.
Dublin. Yeah. If you, like the alcoholic in me just loves Dublin because they've got an interesting mix of whiskey distilleries, beer distilleries, the Guinness factory that's everyone's very everyone goes. And then the food there is also a bit special compared to the rest of the British Isles. So Ireland, that's my number 4.
I'd imagine Dublin would be a pretty lit place to go, just kind of party for a weekend.
Yeah,
I don't know
just
why.
go
I
during the
just have
summer.
this
Don't go
idea.
during.
Dude, I love Irish food. Like, absolutely love it. And that's one of the things I'm probably, because in the States you can get a lot of variety. And Mark, you probably have a better variety in Hong Kong or both you guys, being a more international destination. But here in Taipei, as much as you say the Asian style food here is amazing. But man, there's some international cuisine that you just cannot find here. And that's one of them.
Right.
But
Yeah, I feel you. Well, same thing here. I mean, like when you see like people say, "Oh, Irish food," it's usually like pub food, and it's kind of this. They call it Irish, but then like I've had Irish friends kind of come in and out of town and be like, "Oh, this is bloody English," or like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is Welsh." Or, I don't know the difference. I'm a dirty American from Arkansas, so like, what do I know? Oh, goodness gracious. So what's next, Nick? What's next on the docket after Dublin?
Last one is Seattle. Last one. My last pick would be Seattle.
SeaTac, huh?
Yeah, I've been to Seattle, San Fran, LA, New York, and I found that Seattle was the spot, best North American spot, even including Vancouver and Toronto. Seattle.
Masaki, you hear that?
Good.
Seattle's the spot.
Man, I have to second that. Like Seattle, the food there is just like the clam chowder alone is worth the trip. Like
Yes.
see
Amen.
the light you see the light in his eyes like
Amen.
light up. I will
yeah.
go to that city just to get the clam chowder. That's it.
Yes. Yes. And I'm not even
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about the crab leg, the lobster burgers, the lobster rolls. It just goes on and on. Like salmon, smoked salmon, salmon candy. It goes on. You guys know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You can
Damn
never
it.
go wrong.
Why?
Never go wrong.
I was full like 30 minutes ago.
Right now I'm getting ready to Google what flights I can get to connect through Seattle right now if I
Oh
when I
my
head back to the
goodness.
States. Oh, golly.
Oh man,
Yeah.
look at it. So Masaki, SeaTac really do have good selection of local cuisine at the airport. Yes.
I don't know
So
if
how
I've been
often do you
through SeaTac.
fly to Seattle, Nick?
Say that again.
How often do you fly through Seattle nowadays?
Nowadays, not too often. Before COVID, I used to go there once every 3 months, 2 months if I'm lucky.
Oh man. Speaking of this, Nick, I'm gonna have to share a story with you. So one of our friends, Calvin, is in the chat right now, and this is how baller. This forever in my mind. This is how baller I found Nick can be. We're all chit chatting about like, oh, Calvin just moved back to New York, and he was like, he really missed, Nick and us hanging out, and it was, oh, we need to get some stuff for the team. And Calvin was like, oh yeah, I can take you here, I can take you there. We got all this going on. Oh, and we can do Dick's Sporting Good. And Nick is like, okay, then I'll get back to you. Hang on. And so Calvin, we're all thinking, oh, Nick is gonna come maybe plan something, a little further down the road. Nick comes back into the chat. He goes, okay, Calvin, I'll see you in 36 hours. I'll see you
20 hours. Like
26 hours. Sorry, I'll see you in 26 hours. Nick literally packed a backpack, went to the airport, got on a plane, and left in New York. Oh my God, that is the biggest baller move I've ever seen anybody do, and that was like the moment that is sunk into my head that yes, Nick really is a pilot. Craziness.
Yes, that was good fun. That was a good time.
That was crazy. So those are some of the places that you feel like they're good food spots. So. Yeah. I know we're gonna lead into kind of some underrated places, but where is one place? Oh,
Budweiser. Is that Budweiser? That is Budweiser, isn't it?
But Budweiser Supreme. So
it's a fancy Bud.
So no, this one is one I was trying to track down. It used to come in the cans, and as we're getting ready to jump to the next segment, and now they have it in a bottle. This is an Asia-only Budweiser. So they only release, Budweiser Supreme is only released in the Asia market. So it's a variation of kind of the Bud. So.
That I've never seen that here.
I know, yeah, it's really interesting. I know they have it in Taiwan. I think they have it in Singapore. I'm trying to think where else it is. It might be in Japan. So, this one is. This is the one I was trying to track down when we had the 4th of July video.
It's hella fancy.
Yeah, and the can itself is like all gold too. They always do the whole gold thing on it. So.
Right. Oh, I've seen like the gold can Budweiser here once or twice. Like again during 4th of July or something. But they just call it Budweiser Gold. Nick, have you seen that? Like sometimes it's at 7-Eleven. It's like it's always next to the Bud. It's either Bud or PBR that they have, and then they'll have it there. Sometimes it's at Club 7-Eleven in Lan Kwai Fong. But like I swear, like I've seen it, but it's always been like Budweiser Gold. That's only what it's ever been called, and it's only there for like a weekend, and then it's gone.
No, I don't think I've seen it, Budweiser. I'll give it a closer look next time.
Yeah, I'm trying to do a little read up on it right now. It's a China-only high-end restaurant, Bud.
Oh.
So you might have it. I don't know, because it says like specifically it says China-only. So I think there's a stretch on that because, I mean, obviously we're in Taiwan, but I think this region, this one specifically, the sticker on the back is printed in traditional, and it actually says Taiwan as some of the web addresses. So it's not like it's some of the stuff we get here has an overlay sticker where you they like put an extra label on it to cover up the import version. But this one actually is a proper label that's on here.
Oh wow, yeah. So, that's probably even brewed there too.
I think so. I mean, it's if you can read in reverse. I can't read traditional if it'll focus.
Focus.
There you go. It has it in mirrored something E.
I think it's something to say like it's super
probably,
fancy or something.
Yeah,
like
probably something like that.
No, it's just single. I think it just says like 单一品种, which means like
single malt, single origin.
Yeah, maybe.
single malt beer.
Oh, it does say, yeah, it actually does say fine single malt in English here. Yeah. So maybe it's a single malt Budweiser. There you go.
Yeah, maybe.
Perhaps.
Hey, E-House, check that, Eric. That is a fancy Bud.
Yep.
My goodness.
Herman, 9 pints of Guinness and a baked potato.
13.5 pints, Stubaka. 13.5 pints was my record at St. Patrick's Day, 2005. How? Oh my God, that's like drinking that's like drinking breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
13.5 pints. That's what? How many liters?
1 pint is about 568 milliliters.
Yeah,
So,
568.
let's
So
call
like
that,
2 is a liter.
600.
Ugh.
Oh.
So 6
Jono, it sounds
we'll
like
call that 7 liters. We'll call
Ewa.
that close to 7 liters.
It sounds like
It
Ewa,
sounds
yeah.
like-
7 liters.
Sounds like Ewa. Sounds like Finnegan's.
Sounds like, yeah, it sounds like somebody I know who shall remain nameless. I don't want to give his name away. Who did 13 shots of tequila, or was it more?
That's not.
Masaki was there to witness part of that carnage and never finished it through. Don't name his name in
Carnage.
chat, Masaki.
Carnage.
Oh man, it was
13?
some of those nights out in Nuremberg,
Yeah.
dirty. I tell you.
So every year
real
we go to
dirty.
this event in Nuremberg. We talked about Germany, and there's this one Irish pub there to stay on the
It
Irish.
somehow became the industry pub, right? You know,
Yeah,
it's just
and
yikes.
It just- yeah.
Yikes.
Well,
It's like,
as
hey,
we
Mark, you want to
continue
drink?
on-
I'm holding 3.
Yeah.
As we
you
continue on.
Well, no, we'll
Yes.
actually have shows from different places. And if you subscribe, which is a great time to remind you if you haven't done already, hit the sub button.
Yes, sir.
That we will be doing a lot more in the future, including stuff once the world opens back up from there as well.
Yes, hopefully on location as well. So make sure you subscribe up. We really need your support, and hopefully we can open up all the rest of these features in this particular channel. So
And
with
also,
that, let's go to
thumbs
the.
up if you want
sorry.
Nick to be your pilot one day. Just saying.
Yes, everybody. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pilot Nick. I don't think even I can do it. Maybe you can give us a send off later on, Nick. At the end of the show, you do your spiel.
With that
sure,
special
for sure.
pilot voice that every pilot. Do you practice
Yes.
that? Do you really practice?
Every pilot. Some do before they do their upgrade. So like after you get promoted from the lowest second officer to like the first officer, some guys will actually talk to a wall and just start practicing because it is said that talking to a wall you hear what you actually look like. So I do know guys who would just get a PA and just kind of talk to a wall for like 3-4 days straight just to get their voices. I do know guys who do that. Yes.
Hi, everybody. We're at 35,000 feet. Your cruising altitude. I'm your pilot. It's like they've got this perfectly like
Yeah.
chill, mellow, like everything's in control. You don't have to worry about anything. That's like there's a magic to that. Anyway.
Yeah, they have to sound like they just do not care.
Yeah.
And with that, let's go into the next one. Okay, airport hacks. This is something that is also near and dear to my heart because
same here
different
too.
airports got different tricks. Like for example, I like to go first. If you enjoy a cigarette once in a while, or if you like to buy duty-free cigarettes, when you're in Hong Kong, go to the closer immigration terminal. I think it's on T1. I think it is the one on the far side on the left-hand side,
Okay.
whatever number that is. I haven't been there for so long, but whatever.
So aisle A.
Yeah. So if you go in through immigration on that one, you come out of immigration, it's immediately escalators down, and you're right into duty free. You don't have to go faff about with the other tourists. You're right into duty free, and that's the duty free that always has samplers too for you to sample different whiskeys, different cognacs, and wines. That's the one you want to go to. So if anyone you guys like to hit that duty free, maybe pick up a couple of cigarettes or sample some drink some whiskey or some wine before you move on. That's the one you want to go to.
Yeah.
On that note, duty free shops know which airports are known for what duty free goods, because I've flown into Amsterdam, not as a pilot, like visiting Amsterdam. So Amsterdam, amongst guys who go there often, it's actually known for very cheap gins.
Oh.
Gins, like the alcoholic drink gin. Yeah. So I once picked up a bottle of Hendrix 1.8 liters for might have been $500 Hong Kong.
Which is
And I picked up a bottle of
70 US, 60 US, maybe, if that.
What?
Because it was very cheap, and they had like it was like $800, and then they had a 40% or 50% off or whatever it was, and then it just became a $500 bottle of 1.8. And
Wow.
then I've done the same. Yeah, it's not even Hendrix. They did it for Four Pillars as well. So Four Pillars, I think it was 1.3 liters that I picked it up for $350 maybe Hong Kong dollars. Yeah,
Masaki,
know your air.
Gin. Amsterdam. Masaki, Gin,
Yes.
Amsterdam. There you go.
With whiskeys, Melbourne is a very good one to pick up because I once bought a Kurayoshi 8 whiskey single malt for, I think it was $400 Hong Kong, which is hella cheap. It's like less than half the price.
It's like $50.
Melbourne's known for that.
Crazy.
Actually, less than that.
Melbourne, yeah, Melbourne is known for that. Singapore also, not so much nowadays, but if you want to get aged whiskeys, like, the typical 12-year, 15-year, 18-year, from under the Suntory umbrella, pretty much anything you can get it at Singapore.
Interesting.
Cheaper than you can get it. Yeah.
The thing
Those
with
are probably
Singapore,
the duty-free
though,
shops.
I don't know about
Mm-hmm.
now, but Changi, it used to when you fly in, like the duty free, like, because that airport is massive. I think it is like an ungodly size how big it is. But like the duty frees are so spread out. Like everything in the middle is like restaurants and shops and stuff like that. And the duty frees are all on the fringes, right? So like you really almost have to hunt these duty frees down.
Yep.
Yep. All right, I'll give you guys some tips. Something I've seen personally in effect. If you're looking for like, especially like a good gift or someone you know is into the high-end luxury stuff, the best thing to do here is a lot of the international terminals will have the luxury shops, and those are in that duty-free zone, right? So have like big name brands like LV and like all the way down like Coach and all the way up to Hermes and everything else in between, right? So if you're shopping for something like that, if you have the kind of cash flow, you're looking for something, the best thing to do is actually, what people don't realize is call ahead, see if they have it. If not, they can transfer it in for you and hold it. That way you're not picking it up locally. You can grab it there, tax and duty free, and then leave with it. And all those boutiques,
Oh, man.
they are more than happy to do that. Just give them ample notice and let them know when your flight's going to be. They will be ready to get it to you. So a lot of times that could save you 10, 12, 14% or even more. Some countries have a very high VAT or tax on luxury goods. And a lot of people go there and they just kind of window shop and like, oh, I wish they had this. Call ahead. Calling ahead will get you everything.
Wow, that's a big brain
Wow.
moves, man.
Yep. That's my golden
Got the
like
Galaxy.
gift, like really shopping tip right there. And then that way too, it's secure. It's going to be on the plane with you. It's going to be taken care of. You're not going to have to worry about it. Like maybe it's in my checked bag. I got something expensive down there, like maybe a watch. And you're wondering if what if my bag gets lost, right? All those things are taken care of. It also takes the worry out of the travel for you too.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy. I didn't even have this thought come through my
didn't know that.
mind.
Yep. And you know what? I never did
never
either.
thought of that.
But I saw, actually, my producer worked that kind of thing. I was like, that's like IQ 9000 stuff right there. Like literally, boom. And it's like, I never thought of that. Like you literally can call and reserve this stuff at the airport and bypass all the duty. It's like, oh, it's
That is
brilliant.
crazy.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
That is crazy.
So.
Wow.
So if you're looking to make that big investment, you've been saving up, maybe you want to get a cool watch, right? Especially all of us guys. I mean, you especially being a pilot, man. I know like the pilot watch is like the gold standard, right? It was IWC, isn't that like the gold standard of pilot watches or
Yeah.
Whatever it is now.
yeah. But you do that.
It changes
You book
every
ahead.
6 months.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. And they're happy to do it for you. And like I said, if you give them ample notice, they can transfer it in. So my other
Wow,
tip is
that's
too,
crazy.
and I pinned this in chat. Herman brought it up and I wanted to wrap back around.
Yeah.
On this is getting the best thing you can do, at least for me, is becoming a part of an airport lounge pass program.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
I've got a credit card, and part of that, it's got a huge annual fee. It's a travel card, but as part of that fee gets me the priority pass. In the States, it's hit or miss, but once you leave the States, man, there's some really nice lounges you can hit
Oh,
up
yeah.
with food, drinks. I mean, they usually have a pretty good name brand selection of like hard liquors, wines, beers.
Champagne.
Yeah. I mean, and you
Oh,
can
yeah.
chill. Some of these have showers. Some have quiet rooms you can take a nap in. I mean, they really have like a lot of amenities. And I think these passes, if you just shell out the cash for it, are like right around 100 to 120 US dollars a year if you're not
Yeah.
part of a card
Yeah.
that provides you one. That's not a lot of money if you travel a little bit. You think about what you're going to pay for food in the airport if you're doing a connection. And in airports like, good example, San Francisco, I connect there a lot. There used to be lounges there, and they got rid of them. and instead they give you a $28 per person up to two people voucher to use in the airport at select restaurants. So basically, you can go get food, whatever, and I mean, $28 in an airport, you can still eat pretty good, like quite
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
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 So,
Mhm.
well,
Yeah,
those are my two
that's
tips.
definitely true. Yeah, there's some lounges that are really good. Like I had a stupid layover in where was I? I think I was in Munich and I had a stupid no, it was Frankfurt. Stupid long layover in Frankfurt. And
Mhm.
the Cathay Lounge over there, whoever is I was traveling on company dime, so it was company card. And no, it was a Lufthansa lounge. And that
Mhm.
was 100% worth it. Like you're already kind of slightly irritated, but you go in, people are good to you. They got a great selection of food. You know, they sit down, ask you, do you want a beer? You can have a beer. You can relax a little bit. You know, they'll keep you updated on your flight, which I think is a very underappreciated thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys. I'm sure, Nick, you don't have this problem, but sometimes I hate to say it, I get flight anxiety. Like, I don't like to be late. I hate being late. When they say 2 hours ahead, I'm 2.5 hours ahead because I know if something's gonna happen, something's gonna go wrong, everything's gonna go wrong. So, you know, you're at the lounge, they'll just keep you updated. They'll let you know what's gonna happen, where your flight is, how long it's gonna take. I've had a lounge arrange a pickup for us, like within one of those golf carts, and they'll drive you to there. So yeah, Hong Kong Airport, they did that from the Cathay Lounge,
Yeah.
which was super
Mhm.
cool.
Another
So,
pro tip about lounges too, if you're trying to angle for that upgrade, the best thing to do is if you like once you move up with the airline and you're able to get lounge status with that airline, a lot of them you can be a low tier, but if you're on an international flight, they'll allow you access to the lounge even if you're connecting through or you're departing and going on an international. That if you want to try for angle for an upgrade or a seat change or try to work something out, talk to the agent in the lounge, not out at the counter. The agent at the
yeah.
counter has been abused, beat up. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just they get so much abuse from so many people. The lounge agent typically has seen a lot less abuse and is typically in a better mood, you know. And you'll actually,
Yes.
Yeah.
I found go a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
farther. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
There we
for
go.
sure,
So,
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
validated.
You know, definitely be nice. Go say hi. You know,
Hmm.
and get you a long way. You can go a long way with that.
Funny story.
Go ahead, Nick.
Funny story about lounges. I think it might have been 2 years ago before COVID hit. So this guy made the news and must have been China somewhere. So what this guy did, Galaxy Brain move, if you're that kind of guy, he bought a first class ticket which included lounge privileges for next week. So for 6 days he went to the airport, free drinks, free food, blah blah blah. He goes home happy. Seventh day he delays his ticket for the next week and he does it again. So for the price of one first class ticket, he got free food for a year, and then the airline figured out and canceled his flight, and he got his money back anyway. Yeah,
Wow.
but this guy made the news.
That's a
Funny
big
story.
brain
It
move.
just reminded me of.
And by the way, the first class
Wow.
lounges are separate. By the way, if you've never done this before, like if you go first class lounge, it's a totally different experience. Like it's like white tablecloth dining in most cases. The menus like filet mignon, I mean, like you can get some real top tier foods.
Oh yeah, yeah. They pull out all the stops with the first class. Herman here says, pro tip: connect via Moscow. Some great cheap flights, if because they're this unused airport. So
Huh.
that's an interesting something for you. Nick, have you ever flown into Moscow?
No, unfortunately not. For cheap tickets, the place to go to is either Dubai or Doha. Those two are the ports that would get you cheap tickets, easy layovers, just walk over and you're off again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, speaking of
Doha,
that, I see
Dubai.
Stu saying a long layover here. He's got a 7-hour one. A lot of airlines will actually book you a hotel if your layover is over a certain
Yeah.
amount of time. So also look at the airline rules on that one. And you saying Dubai is one of those they maybe kind of flag up. I think Dubai is if it's over 8 hours, they'll actually book you a legit hotel room to go into, and that's no extra charge as part of it if you're flying. Now I think you have to fly like Emirates for that one. I think it's one of Emirates' privileges. But look into the airline's policy about extended layovers and their hotel booking policies. A lot of times you can end up with a free room if you don't mind extending your travel time, and then and some of these are inside the airport, so you may not have to actually go through passport control back and forth again too, which could make life a little easier.
Yeah, yeah, that's so
And for
true.
long layovers, what I once I tended to do was I'd actually go outside. If you check up on the airport regulations, some airports actually allow you to keep your luggage. You just go out with your passport, assuming you have a visa. Spend 6 hours in Athens or whatever. Go back to the airport and then jump out to another flight. So that's what I did once or twice in Greece, and I thought it was very it was fruitful because I'm not going to waste 7 hours in an airport. I might as well spend an hour just getting in and out of the airport. Spend 6 hours in town without my luggage.
Oh, so you
I
just
just
like
thought
kind of
that
day
was
trip
a
out.
better use of time.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
just take 6 hours out and come back. Yeah, but you have to check the airport or the country regulations because it's dependent on the visa. It's dependent on customs and immigrations. But
Right.
Greece used to allow you to do that back in 2014, 2015 when I went, 2013 maybe.
Interesting.
Yep.
Because actually, a lot of friends I know, they also do the same thing. They purposely would book a long layover, a day trip layover, or if it's a party town, they'll book like a night trip layover, and they'll party and do an all-nighter and go back to the airport, smelling like regret and vodka, usually the same thing. And yeah. And they fly out. Hey, I just want to acknowledge one thing real quick. Nick, we have a bunch of our teammates in the chat, so you
hello,
definitely
Chris.
got the poll. We have Chris, we have Calvin, Thompson's in the chat. So hey,
Really,
Coach
man, you
Nick,
get like the whole team on there.
Oh yeah, we got a whole group of people here.
With you?
So hey, thanks guys for coming to watch.
Wow.
To watch us.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah. So let's go into our next topic, which I think will be very
Actually,
interesting.
no, one last thing.
Okay.
Sorry, one last airport hack before we move on. So, one thing that I found crucial for those long layovers, if you're not allowed out, power strips or those multi-plug chargers.
Oh yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Instead of having one travel adapter and one travel adapter, one power strip, 6 plugs. Crucial for those long layovers. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to you.
No. And I'm gonna second this one because I learned this from watching like a travel vlog like years ago, and I started traveling with this little small one I bought on Amazon, and it basically gave me 2 plugs and some USB ports. And it was just a small, it's like half the size of a laptop charger, and it had
So
about
true.
like a half-meter cable, like a 1.5 foot
Yeah.
cable. And you could make so many friends at the airport because usually, like you said, all those ports are taken. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I plug in? But I've got a power strip. You can plug into my power strip, and oh yeah, you can also charge your phone off this. And I've never had anybody say no to me. They're like, yeah, sure, and they plug their phone in, and they're
man,
happy.
I'll
and-
do it.
Yeah, right. Because they're usually sharing that one plug.
Yeah.
Somebody else is taking the other plug, right? And now you've slid
Yeah.
in and you've given them their plug plus a USB port. And
Yeah.
I'll have to find one of these. I'll just link it in chat or something like that.
Yeah.
One that I use. These are just like, they're cheap. They're like on Amazon, they're like $20-something. You can find them locally, I'm sure, anywhere. But like they're designed for travel.
I mean, not even that. It's also the ones where you're sitting there at your gate waiting for the plane, and you're sitting at those benches, and they got those USB ports. They're fake. I swear to God, they cannot be real because none of them work. I've tried so many of them. They don't work. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. So let's go to the next topic, which here it is. I think this is the one. This is the one we've been building up to. Best airports. Let's start with best airports first, okay? And then
Okay.
let's start with best airports, which should
Okay.
lead into like underrated places, and then we can talk about overrated places.
Okay. Best airports.
Best airport. Calvin Wong had the audacity to say JFK. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, JFK's the worst, buddy. I was gonna get there. JFK was the worst, bro. I'm sorry.
Calvin, please.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. So let's go best airport, Nick.
The best 2 airports. Melbourne for the drinks, like we just discussed, simply because the duty free liquor is just excellent. And then if you're talking about just general service, what it's like, I thought Adelaide was a pretty good off the beaten path choice for me.
Down
Adelaide.
under, taking the win.
Down under. Yep.
Oh wow.
Like once in a while, you see training pilots actually land on the airport, and I thought it was a nice change of pace to the busy, frantic, everyone screaming, yelling, overcrowded, that kind of rhythm. So I actually thought Adelaide was a nice change of pace. It was a pretty good airport to fly into.
Interesting. Interesting. What other airports you think are kind of are good? Sometimes I like these small airports, right? Some of these small airports got a lot of charm. You know, they're small and they're busy, but they never seem they never seem hectic. They never seem like overcrowded.
Yes. I thought Madrid is a pretty well done airport simply because everyone's just so nice, and it's like they kind of strike the right balance between being busy and also being kind of not so fast, like quick tempered, quick to be angry, that kind of. They get the groove right. So I thought Madrid's probably a close second after Adelaide.
Yeah, nice. For me, I would say Munich is up there. Munich, I think like it's super chill. Like Frankfurt, please. Like if I don't have to, I don't want to, right? Munich,
Yeah.
like when I used to fly to Germany for work, before Red Bull, they would either we'd have a choice because for flying to Europe, us low class executives, we get to fly Lufthansa. Nothing wrong with that. I quite prefer Lufthansa going to Germany. So they would say, hey, we got to go to Berlin, so you can fly Frankfurt Berlin or Munich Berlin. I tried Frankfurt Berlin once, and I was done with it. I was like, never again. I don't ever want to fly through Frankfurt again. So yeah, Munich is that for me. Munich is, I think it's not a humongous airport, but it's spacious enough. It's busy, but you never feel like you're like cattle being herded somewhere. And people are nice. People in Munich usually pretty chill. So yeah, that's one of my favorites to go to. That's for sure. Oh, Masaki says Milan Airport has always been good selection of Italian food ingredients, and you can shop at the duty-free area. Ooh, highbrow, Milan.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. For me, inside the States, probably the most charming airport I would dare say is Charlotte. It's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
got like very southern style. Atlanta's pretty crazy. I mean, it's not
yeah,
terrible, but
Atlanta.
Atlanta, don't even try. Atlanta and Chicago. So Atlanta and O'Hare both. Don't try a connection under like 2 hours. You might as well just kiss it goodbye. The airports are just so incredibly large that if you get a gate change mid-flight, because that
you're
can
done.
happen a lot, right? Like you're like, oh, you'll
Yeah.
look ahead, you'll use apps like Flight Tracker, things like that to see where your gates are. I do that all the time to know, okay, well, I'm going to be here and here, so I know I have this much time to transfer, right? But that can happen. I mean, they can gate change you at any moment. Those are just not worth tempting fate. LAX is one I try to avoid all the time. I would sooner fly into Ontario if I can book a flight. It's the only international flights into Ontario are going to be China Air, but if you can do it just to stay away, or you can do Bob Hope, which I don't think they call it Bob Hope anymore. I think they call it it's just the one north of LA. I forget what it's called. It used to be Glendale.
Isn't
I think
that the
it's
one in?
Glendale?
Is it the one in Irvine? That's the
Is
one,
it Irvine?
right? That's
Maybe
what you're talking
Irvine. Yeah,
about,
I
right?
forget what they call it.
Yeah, I think that's the one you're talking.
Well,
It
Ontario's
used to be
east
called
of
Bob
Irvine.
Hope. Yeah.
Bob Hope. It used to be called Bob Hope International, and now it's called something else.
Yeah.
If you can fly into those are both great. So typically you connect into somewhere else. One that I like is SFO, San Francisco Airport.
Really?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of people don't, but
Yeah, I fall in that one. I'm sorry. Like, going back to what you said. So I've had no issues with O'Hare, right? To be honest, when I fly back to visit family, so my family, I have to fly into Fayetteville, Arkansas.
right, and O'Hare's gonna be your better
So,
bet, or you have to do
uh,
Texas,
oh,
probably like DFW.
Yeah. So I've done DFW. Oh, please spare me.
DFW is pretty risky.
I've done SFO. Spare me. I've done LAX. Oh my God. I try to
it's the
tell people
worst.
when you make a connection in LAX, you have to exit the airport. You have to
Yeah.
go on the street.
Yeah.
And people look at me like, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No."
No, you do.
It's for
And
real.
sometimes in
You have
LAX,
to.
they'll put you on the tarmac and bring a set of stairs out to you. So
Yeah.
no matter what, like if you land there, like, and that could just happen randomly, like you end up with a no gate assignment and you're way out in the back 9, and then you have to fill up a bus and a 30 to 40-minute bus ride back into a terminal where you're getting dropped off at the front door, and then you have to go back through security,
Yeah.
which is just
And then you
a
go
nightmare.
outside the terminal, go to another terminal to go in, and then up a set of stairs just to. Oh my goodness, it's
Well, the
too much.
reason-
It's just too much.
Yeah, and it's also the international connection. The international
Yeah.
terminal in LA is also separate from the actual domestic terminal. And that's another
Yep.
gotcha at LAX I don't like. At SFO, at least they're connected. So if you're domestic, you can get to international. And that to me is a nice touch. I try to pick airports where if you are doing those international connections, you can wiggle between the two. Now, if you land, you have to go through passport control and then you're going to be kicked out and you have to come back through security again. But at least what I like about SFO is there's a lot of security gate options and you can come back through. So
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what another good one I've been in. Amsterdam airports. I tell you, going through the immigration process there was pretty painless. At least every time I've gone through Amsterdam airport, they really seem to
Europe
be
in
kind
general.
of chill and nice and
Yeah.
kind of laid back.
I think Europe in
Not
general.
UK though.
Oh,
Not UK though. Not UK though. I've had nightmares in
Ooh.
London and Manchester. We'll get to that later. We'll get
Yeah.
to that later.
but I will say this too.
Ooh.
I'll agree with you too.
Europe.
The U.S. going back home, like to the U.S. Like when I go through passport control, when I go through like immigration, even I'm like, I literally get stressed. Like it's like I'm a U.S. citizen, and it's a stressful situation for me because it's like you never know what you're gonna get. It's like, like you're gonna get grilled, and you feel out of I don't know. There's like 1,000 things that can
might be.
happen. I don't know why, but going through, I feel like as a U.S. citizen, it's more stressful to go back into the States than it is if you are visiting on a visa.
Here's what's the funniest thing is the best experience I've ever had flying into the US, the best airport experience, and I always want to hate on it, but I just can't, was Newark. I couldn't
Really?
believe it.
Newark.
Everybody was so incredibly nice when I was flying into Newark. I landed and it wasn't like it was necessarily early. It was like a midday flight, I
You landed
landed
about
everybody
2-3 in the morning.
No, I landed like a midday. I landed.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Hey, welcome to Newark. Hey, if you guys are going through immigration, go over this way. Hey, honey, where are you from? Oh, okay, you okay? Hey, you can just go with this group over here." I'm like, "What? What?" And then so I was also making a transfer to go out to Colorado to see Rob, and so like I was just coming into passport control, and then the girl behind the counter, she was having a conversation with me as she was running through my passport. Hey, where are you heading to? I'm heading to Colorado. Oh, you're gonna go catch some, hit the slopes. I said, oh, maybe a little bit, visit some friends. So, oh, that's cool. It's nice seeing you. Hey, my name's Denise, by the way. I was like, hey, Denise, nice meeting you. Thank you for your service. Well, I just walked off. It was the most smooth, nice encounter I've ever had. I couldn't believe it. In Newark. This is New Jersey we're talking about.
Liberty International Airport.
My goodness, I couldn't believe it.
Right? That was incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. Domestic's a different world in Newark.
Yeah.
New York, JFK, that whole area is just like, like you can just count on delays. Like if you're going in or out of there, do not connect tight. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Just like expect the worst. Okay, so with that, I think this is a good segue to the latter part. Overrated places. Nick, I know you've been waiting for this. Hey, I'll throw you a softball. I'll throw you a softball first. Let's start with Asia.
I'm just gonna. Asia. I don't think I've had many bad experiences in Asia, actually. Funnily enough.
Really?
I don't think I've had many. Don't think I've had many.
Nowhere here has been overrated for you.
Not really. I think Manila. I haven't flown there as a pilot, but traveling there, Manila was a bit of a hit and miss. I thought Cebu was much better. But generally, I thought Asia was pretty all right. I thought it was pretty all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
second on
You guys?
Cebu.
That was a
Like
softball
Cebu's.
question.
Did you fly after they put their new terminal in? Like the new
Oh, I don't remember.
It was like it looked
Yeah,
all.
I
If it
don't
looked
think I
brand
did.
new, yeah. They actually have a pretty nice setup there, to be honest.
Muy interesante.
Just the traffic.
All right.
Once you leave the airport, just oh my god, it's like you look at the map, you're like, oh, it's 12 kilometers to city center. This should be quick.
2 hours.
2 hours later.
2 hours. Yeah.
For real.
That's the one thing I definitely remember about Manila flying in. Like, you come in, you look down, and then you just see gridlock. You're just kind of like, you're coming in the airport. I'm like, oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Bangkok. I would say Bangkok. Bangkok. The traffic jams in Bangkok were terrible. I think
Really?
Bangkok was the one that comes into mind. Yeah, because I once flew in there, and then it wasn't a tour guide. It was just some Thai dude was like, "Oh, we only have one traffic jam a day. It starts at 8, ends at 10."
Wow. Why he's not wrong?
Of course,
Wow.
he wasn't
Wow.
wrong. It wasn't wrong.
Wow.
It got so bad that their police force had to establish like a motorcycle gang just in case pregnant women would deliver their kids in the traffic jam. It actually got that bad at one point.
Goodness.
Bangkok.
Goodness. All right. So let's move off of Asia. Let's go to Europe. What are some of the overrated places in Europe?
Manchester. Worst airport, Manchester. Hands
Oh,
down.
So Manchester's the
Yeah.
worst, huh?
Manchester. Yeah, not even close.
Really?
London
Not even
Heathrow. London
Wow.
London Heathrow is probably a very distant second. And
Let
then
me
London Gatwick's
defer to
probably a
my
very
producer
distant-
here. All right, producer's never been to Manchester. Okay, so
okay.
Yes, because man, it's already like a late ride, so you're exhausted, you land, and then coming back. The travel agents are all very. They've got a bit of a hard on for power. Let's put it that way. They forced one of our pilots to walk through the X-ray 7 times, belts off, pens down, phones off, trousers out, shirts out, and he's just like, "What are you searching for?" And the guy's just giving us a hard time. Yeah,
Sounds like the
Searching
TSA
bags.
to me.
yeah.
it was worse than the TSA. I'll say that it was much worse than the TSA.
Wow.
Sounds like the Chicago
worse.
TSA to me. I'll be very specific about
Oh,
that
no,
one.
no. Let me be very specific about the Chicago TSA. I've got a bad problem with those little. I won't even go into the story, but I will second your Chicago TSA story right there.
Oh man, these guys! I swear to God.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was International
Something.
Terminal 2.
Yes, yes, yes. I know. Yes. I probably know exactly which one. It is the turn in, isn't it? Yeah. It is the departure.
And it's a really
turn in.
small, like the TSA, like they're check. No, anyway, yeah, I don't want to even get to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about it.
That's the one. You're right. Hit the nail on the head. And now that brings us to North America.
Yeah,
Come
North
on, Nick.
America. I'm going to pop my knuckles.
Knock
on
it
this
out of the park.
Here we go. JFK, hands down.
JFK, hands down.
Yeah.
JFK. Oh my God.
JFK, then
It
LAX
was
is
terrible.
right after it. Oh,
Yeah.
LAX is probably a second, but JFK, oh my God, the people. I don't even know where to begin, man. I don't even know where to begin. You park, and then there's like delays after you land, and then after that, you try to get to immigration, and it's a delay. Obviously, sometimes they get you on the bus, they transport you on the tarmac, and then, as usual, you get delayed, and then people are terrible. It's overcrowded. It smells funny. Oh my God, no, not JFK. Please. Let's not
You
go
know,
there anymore.
surprisingly, I had a very weird experience in Brussels, where
Go on.
I had a weird delay. Just to answer Winky in chat, that I've never really flown into JFK, but I absolutely believe LAX is worse. But anyways, so I had a really weird experience flying into Brussels. Do you guys remember the time when President Trump was having his summit with Putin in Finland?
not sure.
No,
why
not
now.
really.
This was I think in 2018 when I was coming back from Sweden to Hong Kong, and so Trump and Putin was having their summit in Helsinki. So that was during the time that I needed to make my connection from Stockholm to Helsinki and from Helsinki back to Hong Kong. So I couldn't fly in.
Yeah.
Delayed, flown into Helsinki. They got me a hotel. Great. Next day, they issued me a ticket with two other guys flying back to Hong Kong. We had to go Helsinki to Brussels, Brussels, Hong Kong. I landed into Brussels, I think at 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. The airport was already packed to the gills. And the first thing that hit me was a combination of the smell of cheap cologne and BO. I swear to God. It was the
You were at a frat party?
worst. Probably. I get off this Finnair flight. We get off the gangway. We go in. We come down the escalator into where we need to change to the other terminal, we have to go through immigration because we're going flying out, right? So we're going through immigration. We go into the crowd, a sea of people, and it just like hit you in the face. It's just like cheap cologne and BO, and that was like the smell of the whole airport. I do not know what was going on. It was not a good time.
Well, the cheap cologne was to cover the BO. That's what it was there for.
Yeah, well, it didn't work.
They were going to the duty-free shops and doing the
Whatever
samples,
it was,
man. They were like,
it didn't work. It was
spraying it on.
Like spraying it everywhere.
Yeah.
I tell you, like, I still get this like flashback, like, because it's a very distinctive smell. It's a very like.
No, I can imagine it right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, I can almost smell the smell
Exactly.
you're describing.
Yeah, I gagged a little bit. Like it was just, oh. Eesh. And then I think we got there, and then they were in the middle of a shift change, right?
Oh.
So they had 8 people behind the immigration booths, and they all got up and left.
Just turned. Yeah. All
Yeah.
got up and turned. Yeah.
And they had one guy that sat there to handle every. Oh my God, people were livid. Like a riot was gonna break out. I grabbed the other 2 guys from Hong Kong and I pulled them aside. I said, "Guys, we're in no hurry. Our flight is not till 1 o'clock. We got to get out of the way. If not, we're gonna die." Right? And then finally, I think we were in line for about an hour solid before they had 3 people show up and man 3 other booths. Like
Mhm.
the airline people were coming and yelling at the one immigration guy, and the immigration guy, I didn't know what he was saying. He was speaking French. Clearly, I think he was saying, "Look, I'm the only one here, and we got to get these people processed. I can only do so much," right? And it was just, it was not pretty, man. It was.
Wow.
So that was my experience with Brussels Airport. That was it is what it is.
For me, overrated. Let me see. What would I say? Like truly overrated. I would actually dare say, I think just because I'm jaded, and Mark, you may have a different opinion than I do. Las Vegas.
No, I agree with you on that one.
It's
100%.
like I think it's so overhyped. You
It
and I
is.
have been there how many times now?
Too many.
Yeah, I've been
Too many times. I
more than I got fingers.
absolutely.
It's because for work was when we go. It's not like it's like a choice. It's I think for the first timer, it's like the glitz, the glamour. It's so cool. But I think as a machine to clean money out of your pocket,
Yeah.
that's like the place. I mean, it's like every step of the way. Like you get off the plane, you got to wait like an hour to get a taxi, unless you're off season, right? Unless you're going like middle of the summer where it's like scorching hot.
Yeah.
And you go, and then they won't even extend the tram system, like because of like the way their lobbyist is all everything's working. Like, no, we got to rent a taxi, right? There's the only way out of the airport's a taxi, and if you rent a car, the fees are incredible, right? So there's like they
Yeah.
get you every piece of the way. Like you just get your pocketbook drained every
Oh,
step
yeah.
of the way.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think I've had more taxi scams coming out of that airport. I mean, I've gone
In
there
Vegas,
so
100%.
much. Yeah, I've gone there so much
100%.
they'll take you the long way around, and
Yeah.
like
yeah.
I like there've been many times, and you guys like for those of you that are watching that aren't from the U.S., like you tip, right? You tip taxi drivers, you tip everybody, and I've so many times I'm like, no, you took me the long way around. You're not getting the tip, and I'm like that vocal. I'm like, no, I know where I was going. You passed the back way in, you passed the second way in. You took me the long way around. You're
Yeah,
not getting a tip.
yeah.
So enjoy your extra fare that you probably get a small percentage of. And they get mad. I'm like, don't get mad at me. You tried to scam me. Deal with it. You thought I was
you
dumb.
chose this.
Yeah, you chose
It's
this.
on you, man.
you
Yeah.
own it, man. Like really, and I'll be that
Yeah.
vocal with them.
Yeah.
The best tip I can give you coming out of this is, if I can kind of go back, we're going to jump back to travel tips number 2. When you hop in a taxi, have your destination ready, have navigation on,
Yep.
and you can follow the route so you don't get taken for a ride in a taxi. It's probably one of the best tips I can give you.
So true. Especially if you're in a country you don't speak the language. So true. So
that
true,
happened
man.
in Japan. Actually, that happened going to Masaki's office. The guy tried to take
really?
us for, yes, he took us for a ride, took us the long way around on the freeway, like the long way. And I'm like trying to talk to the taxi driver. Of course, in Japan, he speaks zero English, and I'm watching his navigation. He has nav up, and I've got my phone up, and his nav was telling him to turn one way. He went the other way. Like it was that, yeah, it was like that obvious. I mean, like the nav screen was even like go left, and he was going right, and This was going to his old office, and I was so frustrated with that. So I called him out on it, and then Masaki graciously, I try to remember the whole story here. Yeah, Uber does help. Uber's a fantastic tip, but if you take a taxi, I think Masaki actually helps sort things out on the back end of that one.
Of course,
and
well,
the guys there.
he is regional head of Kansai Tourism Bureau.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, so overrated though, I would say Vegas. I mean, you gotta do Vegas once in your life if you've never done
Yeah,
it. But
yeah, it really is. It is sensory overload, but you know, I think you'll get it when you leave.
Yeah.
When you get there, you're like, yeah, but everybody would tell you the same thing. You just can't when it's time to go, you can't wait to leave Las Vegas.
You
I
can't wait to
swear God.
like I think the best way to see Vegas is like go to LA, like do some time there, and then just rent a car and drive in. Do like a night or two, and then
Yeah,
like do a
that's
weekend and
probably
then
the
come
better way
back.
to do it.
You know, and I
Yeah,
would tell you too,
yeah.
do the old town Vegas. Do like don't-
Fremont Street.
Yeah, do Fremont Street. Don't
Yeah.
like you can do the Strip if you want, but do Fremont Street. So I
Yeah,
think you'll end up with
Strip
something
is cool,
better.
but yeah, Fremont's the way to go.
Yeah.
So with that, shall we open it up to some questions or
Yeah.
whatever the chat is on about?
Yeah.
Chat, as usual, you guys are crazy and you guys have your own conversation going on, which is awesome. And hey, while Jono's perusing chat, first thing, I'm going to thank Nick for hanging out with us. Your insights are fantastic as a young man pilot, you know, a young pilot. Guys, you know, if he can do it, so can we.
Pleasure's all mine, Mark. Pleasure's all mine.
So also, hey, if you guys haven't subbed yet, please sub. Please sub if you guys can. Share with your friends. You know, it just helps us unlock more features for this particular channel. So, John, you have anything for us?
I'm scrolling back through. I'm looking at, let's see. Herman gives a tip. If you're flying to the U.S. from the U.K., choose a route that goes via Shannon in Ireland. They actually do a TSA pre-clearance there. So when you land your domestic flight, you don't have to go through immigration. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What else? Let's see. Masaki. CM Rep. Shabaka said that smallest airport I've ever been to was Fort Smith, Arkansas. Oh my gosh, Fort Smith, and it was a 1+1. It was like one of those little like super small regional flights, and I swear to God, they had 2 gates. You walk through. I'm not lying. This airport, you walked through. You went through the one security. There's like 2 security, like one on one side, either side of like the scanner, and like 1 security gate. That's it. Like and 1 metal detector. Actually, they had a 3D scanner there, and you went in, and it was like, "Are you flying American? Go that way. Are you flying Delta? Go that way." And it was like that was it. Like you just
That was it.
And it was either you sat in the seats right there, or you sat in the seats there. And then the story I have coming from this one as I cruised through. A tornado came.
Oh, really?
The entire airport, all 80 of us,
Good God.
had to go to the respective gender bathrooms. So, like, we all went inside the bathrooms and waited for the tornado to pass. And
Wow.
Just go.
yeah, so me being smart realized that. I was talking to the gate, the lady that ran the gate, the actual ground crew, and she told me the crew was going to time out. So, by the way, another tip: find out if you're delayed a lot. Ask if the crew's going to time out. And this is something that Nick, you probably know that you can only be on shift for so long, and then sorry,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I asked her, I was like, "Hey, how much longer do we have on the crew?" She's like, "Oh man, the crew has less than an hour till they time out, and if we don't take off within that time, they're done because they'll be over shift by the time they land." So I immediately left the gate and grabbed a rental car and actually got the last rental out of there. But
Big brain.
yeah, but like that's another tip too. Like if you're really, really, really delayed and the crew's already on the plane, ask how long the crew has to time out. Because sometimes they might have a connecting flight. If they're coming in from another area, and Nick, you know this, if you're landing, you've already did one shift, you may only have so many more minutes on your shift.
Yeah, smallest airport I ever flew was probably Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville. That was the smallest, but we always have really interesting people who fly through there because it's the Walmart headquarter right there. And so you get this, you fly into the middle of nowhere, Arkansas.
Yep.
You get out of this and they have like Shin
Walmart City.
Ramen posters in Chinese. And then they
Mhm.
have like other like Chinese posters because they actually have a lot of people from Walmart China that fly over and do meetings and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Last time I was flying back in 2019, we also hit a tornado warning because as I was flying over to Chicago, it was a tornado warning in Illinois, so we couldn't fly out of Arkansas. On the same
Mhm.
flight was I think an Asian robotics competition for high schoolers, and they were from Hong Kong. So
Oh,
there were
wow,
a bunch
okay.
of Hong Kong teenage kids, like 12, 13-year-olds, in the
13-year-olds,
middle
yeah.
of nowhere, Fayetteville, Arkansas, waiting for their connecting flight to Chicago. As I was listening to the counselors and teachers talking, it's like,
Uh-huh.
I don't know where we are. Like, where is this place even? I know Chicago, but like, I don't like. Okay, but what if? And then they're discussing, okay, what if we can't fly to Chicago? Where are we gonna stay? This is the middle of nowhere. It's great.
Like Motel 6.
Good
Right
God.
the corner.
They were really like starting to trip balls here. I mean, it was a beautiful day in Arkansas, mind you, but like they were really starting to worry. We don't know where we are. We don't know what's around. Northwest Arkansas, the airport is in the middle of the field. Like there's nothing around us, right? There's nothing close.
Mhm.
The approach is beautiful. It's like you see pasture and goats and horses and cattle, and then the airport. And then that's it, you know?
Yeah, and
Yep.
if you guys don't know, Arkansas, like Northwest, is a little mountainous, but not too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not too much.
We do have a question in the chat from Stubaka. Nick, the hairiest landing airport you've flown into? What's the wildest, like, what's the most difficult one to land in?
Oof, that's a very good question. Okay, during training, it would have been either the training airports down south, so Parafield Airport, where I did most of my training, Waikerie Airport, simply because you had too many student pilots. It was just a disaster waiting to happen. It was just, you had so many inexperienced guys, it was going to happen. So during training, I would say those two. As a professional pilot, I would say San Francisco.
Interesting.
Really?
I would say San
SFO?
Francisco.
Like the approach on
I would
SFO,
say
I know
San
the
Francisco.
water's all usually off to your left, and you're approaching. Like, really, SFO? Why? What is it? The
I would
runway
say San
short?
Francisco because you had, if I recall, I might be completely off, but if I recall, San Francisco has 28 left and right, 0 and then 19 left and right. So those are the directions. It's like a cross, like it's a hash mark. So we'd usually come in from, I think come in from 28 left and land up from above the sea, do the approach, and then come in from the whatever side. So that's what we usually do. But because there was so many traffic they would vector, and they would, since it was so busy, they try to always get you down in a hurry, get you to tell they tell you where everyone is. They'd speak super fast, and sometimes it just became a mess. It was just chaotic sometimes. So San Francisco would be the one off the top of my head.
Interesting.
Wow. San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Trying to think
You're
what.
definitely not old enough to be flying into Kai Tak, so it's all good.
No. Surprisingly, Kai Tak wasn't so bad. Surprisingly, because everyone knew that Kai Tak was bloody terrifying, that everyone would just be, on high alert when they came to Kai Tak. So Kai Tak actually wasn't as bad as people made it to be.
I knew some old pilot friends. There's some old guys, like some guys are just like they look like a dried prune. And they always told me their favorite was flying into Kai Tak because like you had like the big turn signals that was mounted on the mountain that it guided you like where like a highway, right? You had to follow the turn.
You turn right by like 50 degrees at like 600. Yeah.
And it was
1,000 feet or whatever.
always real tight, and they always had to be like they had to keep their head on a swivel, and then it was always a challenge flying in, putting the tail down. It was a fun airport to fly into. I believe them. It's crazy. I remember flying out of Kai Tak. That's how old I am. So
Yeah, we got one here.
I flew out of Kai Tak once.
Lord Wellington asks, what's the best Chinese airport?
I don't fly into China too often, unfortunately. I don't do regionals. I've done 2 or 3 regionals in my life. I've done Saigon, so that's in Vietnam. which I thought was great. I went to Narita once, which I thought was great, but I've never done many China flights, unfortunately. Can't answer that question for you.
Interesting.
Let's see. The craziest, I guess, as a passenger, for me, I think, what was it? I'm trying to think which airport it was. I think it was Costa Rica. No, it wasn't Costa Rica. It was Aruba. The runway was so short that the amount of fuel you had
Those
to burn
are
on
exciting.
they had like you had a limited range. The amount of fuel that you had to burn on takeoff because the
Yeah.
runway was so short. I remember the pilot was actually saying this, and I'll tell you which airline I flew, which is actually quite amazing. The airline I flew to go from direct flight from Nashville, Tennessee, BNA to Aruba. There's a direct. This was I was 20, 21 years old. This is like 2 decades ago. The pilot was saying that they burn so much fuel taking off because the runway is so short that they could only have just enough to get there. So the airline I flew, by the way, was UPS.
Wow.
What? Wait, what?
UPS.
UPS. I'm not lying. So it was through a travel agency. And what they did was they would load passenger modules. So like the UPS cargo planes, they have like a door that hinges open on the side, and I think in the front and the
Yeah.
back, and they load. Typically, the cargo is kind of cylindrical. It's like this round, and they load the module in like it's only so wide to fit through the door, right? So it's like this wide, so it goes in the door, and then it stacks in, and they stack them up like Lifesaver candies or Mentos in a roll, right?
Yeah.
So they go in and they just stack them up, and each one is its own cargo segment. What they do is they load these passenger segments, so you can see the seams in the floor, right? And each one kind of moves a little bit independent. So I think it's about the width of like 2 or 3 rows. I can't remember. It's been 20 years plus. So there's like you can see the seams, and they're like metal, and they're carpeted, but they're like a double metal seam where they made up, and they lock them together. But the thing is, your ceiling's even lower. So like your seat sits up closer to the ceiling because you're using the space below you for cargo as well. So it's a dual purpose flight. Like cargo, like the FedEx packages are underneath you and you're up top. And they load these things in. So like as you fly, like you can see the seats in front of you, like everybody kind of moves, like each segment moves a little bit independent of the other one. But I remember the takeoff was the most
That is
violent
crazy.
takeoff. Yeah. That was the craziest flight I've ever been
That's
on.
crazy.
That, and then I had a flight out of, was it Tampa? I was flying to Tampa to Nashville when I was traveling for work all the time, and I had an engine catch fire, and that was a lot of fun looking out the window and seeing that one. But yeah, we had just took off. I was already late for the flight. I was on a conference call. I was like the last one on the plane. I got stuck between, I swear to God, 2 huge bodybuilder dudes. And I was in the very back, the last seat by the lavatory in the middle
man.
between these 2 guys. And I couldn't even fit. No, I couldn't fit between them. These guys were like, both these guys were like 6'4", 275. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. The actual flight attendant let me take off in the lean forward position. She's like, I couldn't even get my shoulders back. These guys were so big. They occupied my seat. And we took off. It was a nighttime flight, evening, and we're in the air. And maybe up for 30, 40 minutes. And like I remember looking at that, I'm like, why is there an orange glow coming from that window over there? Because like I'm in the back, right? I'm in the tail. So I really can't, I can kind of only see like, I kind of look up and I'm craning my neck and I can only see like so much out the left side of the plane. And I like see an orange glow. I'm like, oh, I think an engine's on fire. And sure enough, it's like, here comes the calm pilot voice, right? Here's the call. It's like, attention passengers. We've got a small minor issue with the mechanical issue with the plane. We're going to be turning it back around and heading back to our origin airport of Tampa. Please remain in your seats with seatbelt fastened. I'll be asking the flight attendants to take their jump seats right now. Thank you very much. And it was like that. And like they I guess they got it to fly. I don't know how you do it, Nick, but like they got the fire to go out and they got us down.
You spray extinguishers. Yeah.
Yeah, like it stopped burning. I stopped seeing orange out the window, like this glow, and then we land.
Oh
Needless to say, it was actually Southwest, by the way. I was on a Southwest flight, which it's
wow,
a total
that
experience.
explains everything.
Well, this is how I ended up in the back seat. Like Southwest is, I don't know if you've ever flown Southwest. You board in order and you take the first seat that you want. Like you're given a
Yeah.
number, sequential number, depending on how fast you check in, and then you get to take the first available seat.
Yep.
So that's how I ended up in the back. It wasn't like I picked that seat.
Southwest is just like YOLO. It's just
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
Engines on fire. Well, the other twos
Yeah.
are all
Too
good.
bad.
No, not other two. There's only two engines on this one. It was like a,
There's
I
only
think
one
it's back
left.
in the day. It was like a 727, maybe. I think before they retired the 27s.
Uh-huh.
So
Getting back to one of the questions that Herman asked, in 1993, do I remember that 747 that slid off the end of the runway in Kai Tak? I absolutely do as a young child because I had to fly international on a 747 few days after that crash. And I was terrified. I am not joking. As a kid, I was already like, oh, we gonna die. We gonna die.
oh god.
That was it. That was it for me. So hey, so to wrap this all up.
Wait. Time out.
Oh,
Stop.
wait,
Stop.
Wait. Okay.
Wait. Masaki's saying happy birthday, Mark? In his time
Uh,
zone?
no.
Oh.
Why is my work
Is your birthday like here within 1 hour?
Yeah.
an hour? Yes.
So wait,
Yes.
we had
yes.
Masaki on last week, and it was his birthday on the show.
Yes.
You're this week, and Masaki
Mm-hmm.
like totally calls you out, and it's your birthday.
I try to brush this one.
No, Masaki's calling you. So, for those of you in chat, real quick,
Dang it.
before we wrap this thing up, and Mark tries to be all humble and stuff, we need an HBD in chat for Mark, and for his
Thank
teammates,
you.
I need wedgies and photos tomorrow. I practice.
No, it's not gonna happen. Old man.
Not gonna
yes.
happen.
Not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Nope, not gonna happen.
Hey man, y'all gotta for the teammates, you're gonna have to line up for Oklahoma's if you want to do that. Let's go.
Even I get that joke.
Hey man, I am not afraid, and I'm the one screaming no fear at the sidelines. Come on guys.
Wow.
Thank you everybody for the for the birthday wishes. It's
Yeah.
very very special to be able to do this. I think an hour before. So what better way to celebrate a pre-birthday than with you boys
Yeah.
and with everybody in chat. So
Yeah. And what
thank
better way
you.
to wrap up the show?
Yes, I was about to
Yeah.
wrap the show with Nick. Can you send us
thought
off
you were gonna
with one
slide
of our?
out of here.
I was.
Oh.
I was so close.
Close.
Yeah.
Minosa
I
gone.
was so close.
Close. Minosa
Yeah.
gone.
Nick, you wanna wrap us up with your gentle pilot voice?
Oh my god, this is embarrassing.
No, it's not. No, it's
All
not.
right. I'll give it a
Day
go.
job.
All right. I haven't gone through the practice yet, but I'll do what I can. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for choosing to listen to Hopped Up Live Stream Podcast. This is your second officer, Nick, speaking from the podcaster table. Thank you for listening to us. We hope to see you soon. Good night, everybody.
Ooh, professional. It's
That's
as
it.
if you do this.
Not too bad.
No.
Not
You
too
might
bad,
do
not
it
too
for a
bad.
living. So, all right. So with that big
Thank
mic
you.
drop, as always, thank you. And for my empty but supreme,
Oh, you need another one.
I know it's right over there. I'm gonna go grab one. So, and Mark Squilo, and
Yep.
big thank
Whatever I
from
had to Ichi.
Itchy. Yeah,
Whatever it was.
Nick up in the cockpit. Thanks
Yeah.
again. Seriously, Nick. Seriously, thanks so much for being on and giving everybody your tips from a professional traveler. Probably the
yeah.
only professional traveler I know.
That's right.
Pleasure's all mine, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Pleasure's all mine.
Yeah. Hope to have you on again, Nick, next time. And
Yeah.
guys, with
Yeah,
that
for
said,
sure.
thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us, and stay hopped up. Bye, everybody.
That's it.
Good night, everyone.